Welcome. Every year during September and October, a 15-day period is dedicated to Pitra Paksha. Paksha means 15 days. We know that Pitra Paksha is a time to remember and honor the the departed ancestor in one's family. But for me, it is also a time to remember people outside of my family who have passed away. A few of such people crossed my path through astrology and left behind something that makes me think of them off and on. One such person was KD. I'm just going to, this is not the real name, so I'm just going to call that person by this name, KD. Now, ironically, his real name had something to do with Kuber, the god of wealth. But you can make out from the title of this video that this person lived a life full of struggle and financial hardship. Nothing to do with the god of wealth. This is also not his real image. This is just a representative image generated by AI. Before I get into a discussion on his horoscope, let me give you some background about KD. So he was hired by one of my friends who was the owner of a small business. Now, in small business, there is always a need to look after many kind of odd jobs. So that is what KD used to do. He had no clear job or any kind of well-defined responsibilities. I came to know that he was born into a reasonably well-off family, but that family has fallen on very hard times when KD was a kid. He had a wife and a high school aged daughter. Now, why KD became interested in me was because of the astrology. He knew or was aware of my astrology study circle which I had formed at that time, and he started finding ways to contact me. In the process, I realized that he also had some kind of a elementary knowledge of astrology. The KD's horoscope, in last moment I thought that let me not reveal KD's horoscope, but I am going to discuss the KP astrology rules that usually creates a very struggling and a life full of financial hardship. And these rules were very evident in KD's horoscope. So it is essential for you to understand that what Professor Krishnamurti has said about a life that's going to be miserable and full of all kind of pressure and anxieties. So the Professor KSK's rule is that planets in 2, 10 and 11 and in the sum of significator of 4, 5, 8 or 12 reduce one's income and there will be difficulty to make money. See, this rule is very important. Here you see the Professor Krishnamurti is mentioning not the planet but the planets. So essentially you have to look at, when you are judging a horoscope from the financial strength point of view, then you have to look at each of the planets, and then you have to look at what kind of signification they have in terms of 2, 10, and 11. Now the uh, the the eventual outcome is always decided by the sublord. So that's what Professor KSK is mentioning over here, that the sub of significators of 4, 5, 8 or 12. So this is not a good combination. It reduces one's income, and there is always some struggle in making money. Things seems to come up positively because of the 2, 10 and 11 signification, but eventually these things, they just fall apart. And suppose at the signification level and at the sub level you have this combination of 4, 5, 8 and 12 that appears in the both at the signification level and the star lord level. It creates all the more problem in person's life, and eventually there's a lot of debt that a person accumulates, and then that person is not able to discharge the loan. Professor Krishnamurti has mentioned that the native will suffer mental agony, anxiety, pressure, worry, depression, irritation, ill repute, humiliation. Eventually, the lack of money results in these kind of a thing. The when one is financially hard pressed, then it eventually results in all kinds of hardship in a person's life. So each of the planet you have to judge, and then you have to see how these planets are signifying the good or the bad houses. So that's one of the rule that works in Krishnamurti Paddhati. Most of the time it works. If you ask me 100%, I will say no, it doesn't work 100%. But it is something that you can rely on, and in few horoscopes it's not going to work, but you can still depend on this rule. So this was quite evident in KD's horoscope. Another thing that was noticeable in KD's horoscope was the signification 3, 7, 5, 9. There were quite a few planets that were signifying these houses. Now these houses are, I would say, they are kind of passive houses. They doesn't promise any accomplishment or achievement. At the same time, they're not outrightly bad. So sometimes what happens is these bad houses, outrightly bad houses like 4, 8, 12, and when they join hands with these kind of houses which are like I said, not outrightly bad, this creates a very strange kind of hardship in a person's life. You can say that that person is not outrightly poor. He's not like, like stricken with poverty, and at the same time he doesn't have money. So that is the usual term that we use to denote this is the lower middle class. And this kind of a combination results in many other strange situations that I'm going to discuss in a while. Additionally, the 5-9 combination in Krishnamurti Paddhati, the 5-9, which traditionally in the Parashari Jyotish is deemed to be a very good house, in Krishnamurti Paddhati it is kind of an okay house. It does help, like the 9th house, which is the house of fortune. It does help in some ways, but it is not given much importance in Krishnamurti Paddhati. That means if the 9th house is prominent in a person's chart, then in Krishnamurti Paddhati, it's not that there is going to be some windfall or there's the fortune is going to smile on that person. No, it's not like that. a little bit of opportunities it creates. Additionally, the 5-9 combination is not a good combination. This is what creates a nowhere kind of a person. I did a video, I think the title of that video is The Nowhere Man, where I have explained that why this combination, the 5-9-3, creates a nowhere man, a person who has no well defined role or ambition in life, and their life just is kind of aimless life. So that's another thing the 5-9 combination creates. But 5-9 also creates person who has a good disposition, people who are very friendly in nature. That's what the KD was. He always was wearing a smile. And additional thing that I want to point out about KD was that his ascendant. Now his ascendant was Pisces. So his ascendant was Pisces, and multiple planets were in water signs, including the moon. Now this combination is a very bad combination. If you already have majority of the planets that are signifying the bad houses, and on top of it, if you have a watery sign ascendant, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, of all the three watery signs, the Pisces is the needs some special attention here, and the KD had that Pisces ascendant. And see, what happens is this water sign is not a very material kind of a sign. These people are not after money. They don't know how to make money, and they become very impractical in life. And at the same time, there is some fairy tale dream that keeps happening in their mind because of the imagination that a water sign brings in their life, that things are just going to be okay at some point in life, and the fortunes are going to be smiling on them. That is what happened with KD also. Pisces signs are not very motivated to make money, and it is the 12th sign of the zodiac, so they become kind of a loser. I mean, their destiny is to keep on giving. So that is what happened in KD's horoscope also. I wish he had some more if these like the effect on the earth sign, but the planets were not in the earth sign like the Taurus or Virgo or the Capricorn, or even the the fiery sign like the Aries and the Sagittarius or the Leo. So where this drive is there to compete and move forward in life and make some money. So unfortunately in KD's horoscope, what happened was that there was quite a number of planets that were signifying the evil houses, and on top of it the ascendant and the moon sign had this effect from the water sign. So, and then there was another something that I noticed when I started interacting with him, and then I noticed that he had this very strong sense of false, prestige. His family used to be well off at one point of a time, but that factor alone was not sufficient. Later I realized that when in a horoscope you have a lot of negative influence, but there are planets who are very strongly signifying the first house also. This is very important for you to note what I'm trying to tell you over here. So first house brings dignity, honor, and at the same time the other planet, they are kind of creating humiliation, ill repute. So the result is that the person gets into a mode that's called a false prestige, where he tends to put up a fake face that he is still well off, he still has money. So this thing, the these significator of the first house, they sometimes they create this kind of a yoga for keeping a false prestige, and that's what happened in the case of KD. Now this false prestige often results in a very comical kind of situations. Uh, and like I mentioned that the bad combinations for wealth plus the strong significator of the first house is that is what results in the false prestige. Now let me give you some examples to clarify this point. With KD, who had this kind of KP yoga in his horoscope, so he never had money to buy good clothes. He was always kind of shabbily dressed, and when he used to interact with me, then I would often smell a bad body smell, and I would notice that he would be wearing cheap perfume to cover up the body odor. Now I don't mean any disrespect. I am just narrating my experience interacting with KD. And at times when he would discuss his horoscope with me, then he always mentioned about the Raj Yoga in his chart, including the Panch Mahapurush Yoga. You must have met these kind of people who are actually struggling in life, but they never forget to mention about the Raj Yoga or the all kind of other wealth yoga in their horoscope. They don't realize that this is creating a very a comical kind of a situation. Everybody knew that he was going through a bad financial times, but he would always wear that false prestige. One time when he asked me to suggest some gemstone, so I think mentioned about cat's eye. So he immediately resisted. He said, no, some other astrologer has recommended diamond. So I could understand that why he was mentioning diamond to me. He was not in a position to even afford a cat's eye, but he deliberately mentioned the diamond. So this kind of false prestige is created by this the yoga that I'm mentioning. He had a very mild heart attack, I remember, and at one time, just out of courtesy, I asked him that about his disease, and then he said, "Oh, this the blood pressure and the hypertension and the heart attack. This kind of disease only happens to rich people." I was kind of at a loss of words at his explanation. Again, he was just trying to say that I am rich. That's why I have had this mild heart attack, and poor people don't have this kind of a disease. I remember at one point he mentioned that he has hired a Vastu expert, and that Vastu expert helped him identify the problem that he was going through. Now these are those low IQ Vastu experts, and when you invite them to your home, then they have no idea about Vastu. They might have picked up some pocket book on Vastu, and they become a Vastu experts of sort. And these Vastu experts, for them there are three enemies. Enemy number one is the water tank, enemy number two is the toilet, and enemy number three is the main door. That is the start and the end of their Vastu knowledge. So the KD mentioned that this so-called Vastu expert had identified some problem with the toilet, and I don't know what happened, but I'm pretty sure he had no money to fix the water tank or the main door. So somebody told me that he got the door of the toilet painted in some other color as suggested by the so-called Vastu expert. Life just moved on without bringing any major changes in KD's life. I also drifted my way and lost touch with him. Many years later, I came to know that one ordinary day he fell from his bicycle and died on the spot following a cardiac arrest, and leaving behind an ordinary life filled with struggle. So I wish I could have known about the PPP remedy. The PPP remedy for him, I could have suggested this and maybe you could have tried this. But I came to know about this aspect, the PPP remedy, which Shri KSK has mentioned, and I did a video touching on this PPP remedy. I just call it PPT. This is not something that Professor Krishnamurti has specifically mentioned, but the professor has mentioned about the linking one's fortune with the place, people, or the profession. If somebody is going through a really hard time, bad time, and there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel, then this is one remedy that one can try. So what the PPP means is the change of place, linking one's fortune by changing the place, linking one's fortune by getting attached to a specific kind of people, and then getting into some specific kind of profession. Now, since he had Pisces ascendant and moon was also in the watery sign, so the professions such as the shipping or the navy or the port trust or the hospital, asylums, sanatoriums, these are some of the professions. There is a whole list of professions that relates to the Pisces or the water signs. So these professions are naturally tied up with the water signs. So that is what is meant by linking one's fortune with the place, people, and the profession. And then the place, the Pisces is a water sign, and it indicates places near some major river or ocean or some water reservoir. So one has to relocate to these kind of places, and then find people who are running businesses or who are in some decisive positions in these kind of a profession. What kind of the one that I mentioned to you. So this is what the PPP is, that linking one's fortune with place, people, and profession. So this is something is always on my mind, that I wish I could have suggested this PPP. It's up to a person to eventually do that remedy or follow that particular suggestion or not. But at least as an astrologer, then you don't have the burden that you were not able to suggest something that you have that you believe that should work. And I believe the PPP works. So my interaction with PD was brief, but it did affect my perspective on destiny, karma, remedies, and many other things in jyotish. So that's all in this video. Thanks for watching.